Hey guys, it's Pierre again, and today we're actually a third of the way through these 100 episodes. I know if you've been with me the last 33 days, listen, you're in for a treat because we're just getting started. And so today we're actually going to be talking about how to release your authority, right? We've been talking about the authority and power series, and we've gone into the last episode talking about by what authority, as people were actually questioning Jesus's authority. So today, what I have for you is a treat because we're going to talk about how to release authority. And by the way, releasing authority has a lot to do with releasing your faith, right? Because you walk by faith, not by sight. So when you look at a situation, how do you judge that situation? You have to learn to release your faith. And to do that, you have to understand how Jesus did it, what he actually told his disciples to do to release their faith so that you can do the same thing. But going back to a simple definition of faith, it's again understanding that faith is your positive response to what God has already provided by grace. Very simple. In other words, it's you agreeing with what heaven said because you know heaven can back it up, right? Abraham believed God because he knew that God was able to do what he said he was going to do. So in the same way, your faith works in the same fashion. So let's go to Mark 11, verses 22 and 23 and see what Jesus has to say about releasing your authority. Right here in Mark 11, 22, he says, answering his disciples after he had cursed a fig tree the night prior or the day prior. Now it's morning, they're walking with him, and immediately Peter says, Lord, the tree that you cursed yesterday, look, it's completely dried up from the root. And Jesus answered and said, have faith in God. In other words, it's walk with the same faith that God walks. And then he goes on to explain how to release that faith. Truly, I say to you, whoever says to this mountain, to this sickness, to this disease, to whatever the situation in your life is, right? Whoever says to this mountain, be taken up and thrown into the sea. In other words, disappear from here, right? Because if you take a mountain and throw it in the sea, the whole point is that it's going to disappear. And does not doubt in his heart, right? You speak to the situation without any doubt in your heart. Why no doubt? Because doubting means you don't believe that God is able to do what he said he either had already done or that he can do for you. So now he says, but that person believes what he says will come to pass, it will be done for him. Notice the word saying here happens multiple times in this passage. It says, I say to you, so number one, he's saying to you, whoever says to this mountain, right? So you saying to the mountain, and you do not doubt in your heart, but rather you believe what you're saying will come to pass. So understand, releasing your authority is as simple as speaking. This is where the key is. But even though you have the key in releasing your authority, you must believe. And where is the center of belief? It's right there in your heart, in your spirit, man, your spirit and soul. Meaning if your mind is not renewed to the fact that God is able to do what he said he can do, you're not going to believe. You're going to be in doubt. You're going to step out, but you're going to be like, I don't know, maybe. Well, yeah, okay, be gone, but come on, who's convinced about that? Not even you are convincing anybody. When you're like, okay, speak to the sickness, speak to the situation, speak to your financial situation, speak to whatever the issue is, speak to the mountain. Now, notice he did not say whoever speaks to God about the situation. He never said, well, God, why don't you take care of that mountain? And matter of fact, if you follow Jesus, every time he walked, he never asked God to do anything. He spoke to the situation. And in the same way, you have to learn to speak to the situation. He spoke to the storms. He spoke to the dead people. He spoke to whatever the situation was, right? Sickness, disease, storms, whatever it was, he spoke to it. Trees, like in the example in Mark chapter 11. And he had no problem speaking to it, and he saw it. And then he says in verse 24, therefore, and this is him now kind of emphasizing it, I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, again, prayer is a dialogue, you and God, right? Or even there's different types of prayer, a prayer where you're releasing your authority, you're speaking against something. Believe that you have received it and it will be yours. So whatever it is that you release, believe that you have received it. The moment you released it, that very moment, you have received it. You don't have to wait until you see it. And therefore, you shall have it. So this is faith at its core. When you speak it, believe it, don't doubt it, and therefore you will see it. Think about seed, time, and harvest. The sower sows the word. You speak the word, you release your authority. And then from releasing your authority, it's going to take a little time. Like it says, believe that you have already received it, and then it will be yours. So there is a process here. And the fact is, many times we declare something, but then somewhere along the way, the circumstances does not yet change, and we stop continuing to believe. And therefore, the authority we released has completely been nullified. So I want you to understand you do have authority. And one last story I want to share with you, which I brought up in episode 31, 2 episodes back. We spoke about the the centurion. Thank you. The centurion, he went to Jesus, and this is very interesting in Matthew chapter 8. And he went to Jesus, his servant was sick, and he asked Jesus to come, to simply speak the word, because Jesus was ready to go to his house. He's like, no, you don't have to even come under my roof, Jesus. I'm not worthy of that, because Jews and Gentiles don't necessarily mix. But he said, simply speak the word. And he told Jesus, because I'm a man under authority, and I have men under me, and what I say, go. I tell this one, go, he goes. I tell this one, come, he comes. I tell my servant, do something, he does it. And he said, so I know you also, Jesus, by inference, you are men under authority, and whatever you speak to will happen. And Jesus replied, I've never seen such great faith, not even in Israel. Now remember, go back to Mark 11:22. Jesus said, whoever shall say, and in Mark 11:22, he says, have faith in God. Have the God kind of faith. This man demonstrated that he understood authority, and that's why Jesus said, I've never seen this kind of faith. So your faith is linked to your authority. They're almost one, because faith, you releasing your faith, you are basically speaking something out that you believe in your heart, and this is really releasing your authority. So that's all I have for you today. I want to keep this short. Go ahead, comment below. Let me know that this is making sense. And more importantly, if you have questions, go right ahead. I don't know it all. As always, I'll tell you this, but these basic principles are important. And if you have questions, I'm there to help you navigate the path. Other than that, I know you're on YouTube watching. Go ahead, click the like and subscribe button there. Click that bell so that when I put these videos out, you can be aware and you can catch them. Thanks again for supporting this channel. I'll see you on the next video. Enjoy.